Hi, Rachel Elder with Connected Couples Counseling. This is day 7 out of 30 days behind the scenes of a therapy practice and to hold myself accountable and be visible. So, today, what I'm doing, which might take 1 or 2 days to do, is I'm actually reviewing finances from the month of May. So, I use QuickBooks to track my finances and help with that because my accountant takes that data at the end of the year. By the way, if you're a therapist and you don't have an accountant, I highly recommend it. I know it's an expense. We're not the experts unless you were an accountant before becoming a therapist, then cool, do your thing. We're not the experts of accounting and the ways to maximize taxes and all of that. So I always tell supervisees, anybody, like, I know it's a big expense and it's worth it. So get an accountant. But my accountant uses the QuickBooks data for tax season every year. And then something I use after, I think I mentioned this on day one. I'm going to share my screen. See if I can do it this way again. I actually have a budget and cash flow. So at the end of every month, I am updating the budget that's anticipated for the year. I'm also putting the actuals in. So you're going to see some of my actuals right now. So I'm going to be working through May. So I'm pulling from my bank statements, from QuickBooks. I'm also like looking at the cash flow, which this one I don't necessarily touch base on. It's this one. I'm updating this cash flow. The reason I recommend this to people, and I worked with Danielle Henderson of, oh my gosh, I shared it last week. I'll share it again. I'm blanking off the top of my head. The reason I recommend this for people is that when you're an entrepreneur, especially as a therapist entrepreneur, you need to know your numbers. I hate numbers. I hate math. I almost didn't pass fifth grade because of fractions. Like, I am not a fan of math and numbers. I just really am not. I just want it to be there and I don't want to worry about it. It has been incredibly helpful over the last 3 years of implementing this and being consistent with this, of really understanding the behind the scenes part of the financials of a business. I I don't reg well, there are some decisions that I wish I would go back and be more intentionally wise financially of what I invested in my business over the years. Everything has served me to an extent, but if I would have been looking at my numbers and really being intentional of what what the numbers can do and where the money is going, I would have made so many different decisions every year of business. There was a year that was really great during the pandemic, being a therapist during the pandemic, really amazing. There was a lot of financial flow coming in. It was great. And I had all of this money in a way, and I spent a lot of it because I thought that's what you do as a business. You want to spend things to keep, whatever that is, low. But I wish I would have been really wise and intentional to either invest that money or just recognize like maybe you don't need all of this. Like, where is the decision around investing in this or purchasing this coming from? So I just did this today. I really want a scanner. My printer is just a black and white printer. It doesn't even print color. And I was like, you know what? It's a business expense. I'm gonna go buy it. And I was like, wait a minute. I can go to the library. My husband has a scanner in his truck. My iPhone scans. It's not the best. It's pretty annoying. And it's something I'm willing to tolerate right now. I would rather wait until this printer kaputs or dies out, whatever the word is, before just buying something to buy it because it's convenient. Sometimes those decisions are super great. But what helped me make that decision is the reality that business has been pretty hard the last 2 years. It's this constant ebb and flow. Some months have been amazing, but it hasn't been this consistent, steady stability. And so I made that decision of this is not an expense that is necessary right now. Maybe later on. Maybe that is something I invest in later on. And I know you might be saying it's only like $150, $200. That's $200 that I don't necessarily have flowing in as freely right now. And so I made that decision based on knowing my numbers. I know what's being predicted as income this month that can ebb and flow a little bit. And I know what my expenses are. And so looking at that number and looking at what my expenses are, I need to be very conservative this month. And so I'm going to make that decision. Maybe next month that's a little bit different and I could invest in that printer. But for right now, I'm being more conservative with my choices because I know my numbers. So, whether you're a therapist, whether you're a business owner, if you are not looking at your numbers, if you don't understand what the numbers mean, you need to work with someone who's going to explain it to you. I have an accountant. I worked with Danielle Henderson to really understand this and not be scared of my numbers. And let me tell you, that VIP day I did was fatiguing. It was so much math, so many numbers, so many spreadsheets. It's not my favorite thing, but I have implemented it every month since we did that, I think back in like 2022, 2023, and it has helped me. It helps me make those tough chief financial officer decisions in my business of, okay, what do I need to do? Where can I cut expenses? Or how can I utilize this money wisely and invest in something that's going to have a return on the business? And yeah, I just highly recommend it. So that's what I'm doing today. I am updating the budget and cash flow spreadsheet. I am approving transactions in QuickBooks and reconciling with the bank statements to make sure that that's in alignment. You can outsource these things. Someday, I would love to get there. Right now, that's not an expense I'm willing to take on, and it really helps me to be aware of the numbers versus just sending it off to someone else. So that's what I'm doing. And yeah, it's my least favorite thing to do on my monthly list, but I do it every month because it's important. All right. I'm curious if you have things that you do, like put them in the comments, share with me. If you're like, Rachel, there's a better way to do this. Sure. I want to learn. I want to grow. So thanks. All right. See you tomorrow. Where do I stop?